Well, here I am. And Richard van der Blom is joining me momentarily. The superstar Richard is between meetings to do this, so hopefully you'll be able to see this very, very soon. And I'm looking forward to him joining us. Lots to cover today, and I'm honoured to have my friend Richard van der Blom joining me any moment because he is one of the OGs, as we'll all know and agree, when it comes to LinkedIn and understanding the space well. So I'm here whilst we wait for Superstar to join us. I know he's probably watching now anyway. There is those who have been on LinkedIn Lives will know there is a lag of a little bit of time between what I'm doing right now and what I see live on my screen to my right. Today I have it clocked at 41-second delay, which is marvelous. So if you have questions you want to ask, you need to throw them in now so that I see them a bit later on. And what we'll be doing is Richard and I are going to have some questions between one another. I will ask him those, and then we will move into your questions afterwards. There'll be a little treat halfway through, so you can't leave, I'm afraid. I'm terribly sorry. But thank you already. I've been online, like 2 minutes? We've got 60 of you in the room, so that's superb. Richard, you're probably able to see me. I've sent you a link to your WhatsApp, so hopefully you can join me from there. And that will all be fine. I need to make sure that you can join me, so hopefully you can see me. Everyone can write in the chat if you like. Richard van der Blom, check your voice, your WhatsApps, and you'll be able to see us in there. And if you haven't been able to, Richard, well then you need to add yourself as a speaker on the live stream. So we should be fine. Who have we got? We've got someone from Nigeria, someone from Paris, someone from Toronto, another person from Paris as well. Internet slow in Chicago this morning, -39 with the wind chill. Should come over to the UK. It's lovely over here. Hello from Dubai. Hello from Scotland. Wow, good stuff. I do love it when we have people from all over. Hello, Heather McDaniel, Atlanta, Georgia. Hello, Berlin. Hello, Egypt. I feel like it's the Eurovision here, calling out all of these countries. There's Richard van der Blom. I'm aware. I'm awake. Here we are. I found him. How are you doing, Richard?
I'm fine. I was actually joining the event as an attendee. So I was watching you saying like Richard van der Blom is not here yet. And I was like, wait, I need to log in via a different link. So sorry about that.
No,
Here I am.
it's absolutely fine and worth the wait. What about a bit of suspense, hey? I mean, already Richard's giving that masterclass in building suspense as part of his social selling suite of techniques.
Or being a technique dork. Anyway,
Well, hey,
another masterclass.
You should have seen me on a meeting 2 days ago. I was all over the place. So
Okay.
I am so pleased to be doing this. The last time we did this was an audio room. Rest in peace. November 2024, wasn't it? I think we last had those. And they were great days. And, you know, before that, there was Clubhouse and all that nonsense. But we've come a long way. And I just think with the exposure you and I have had to, let's just say LinkedIn alone, the whole social selling thing has evolved through buyer immune number of things and through techniques that have been oversubscribed to and through changes to algorithm and strategy from on high for LinkedIn. So there's so much to talk about with such, in many ways a reset of in some forms, Richard, and also in terms of tactical technique as well. So what I am super excited to do, we've already got 90 in the room, which is wonderful. Oh. I'm going to request anyone here who has a question for Richard and or I to pop it in chat, and I will come to you soon. Richard, I've got a couple of questions I want to kind of use for us to both riff on, and then we'll take questions from the audience. Before we do that, though, and there'll be a little treat halfway through, but before we do that, why don't you give us your 2 cents, like a state of the union in terms of social selling? Just riff for a moment. Where do you feel it is? And give us a sense of really where there's contrast between last year and this year, at least from one man's perspective, if you wouldn't mind.
Well, I would love to do that. I just think we need to have some clarity first on what is the definition of social selling.
Yes.
Because I see people using the term where they have a process that is completely fully automated. They don't write any message, they don't do anything, and they expect results to happen overnight, and then they blame LinkedIn, and they call it's social selling, which for me is like, it couldn't be further from the truth. For me, sorry, what I currently see is that most people don't fail at social selling because they sell too much or too pitchy, but they
Mm,
fail because they never earned the right to sell. That's
yes.
what's currently is going on LinkedIn.
Yes.
If there's no trust, if there's no authority, if there's no proper solution, you don't have a right to sell. And I think many people in that are looking for business, as you know, many of us are entrepreneurs. We all want our business to grow and to increase revenue um, but many people have fallen into the trap of sleazy tactics, following the
Hmm.
wrong people, joining up for the wrong cohorts, getting templates, getting fully automation decks, and then expect the magic to happen. And for me, that goes against everything I learned 35 years ago. Oh, not that old, 30 years ago, when I studied sales and economics. Because I mean, without trust, without credibility, without authority, what are you going to sell? Am I right?
Exactly. And I think if we're to be really clear, it's similar to the prevalence of the personal brand discussion on LinkedIn. And if I may, I'm interested in your adding your flavor to this too, but it's a really good distinction you've made here between what actually social selling is and what practitioners are actually doing. With the personal brand thing, what you see a lot of is synthesis of popularity. So engineering a perception of popularity and that being classed as I have a strong personal brand. If I go viral, you must have a strong personal brand. No, personal brand with a strong personal brand is about alignment as opposed
Yeah.
to popularity by metrics. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, I maybe I go even further. I literally said to a client yesterday, your profile is not a personal brand statement. It's a trust filter buyers use before they even going to reply.
Mm,
So it doesn't need to apply to all of the people on LinkedIn. You don't need to have it like the slickest profile of all and worry about if all the keywords are right position because now I don't want to talk too much about the algorithm because that's a
sure.
different topic. But with the implementation of 360 Brew, I see a lot of people now saying if you don't update your profile, you will be lost. No, the numbers might go down, but we're not playing a numbers game. We're playing a game where our content is going to reach our target audience, where it resonates with them, and where our profile is a trust filter that literally builds credibility. So they're going to reply to our outreach, or they're going to send a proactive message. That's what your profile is about. It's not just a personal brand statement.
It's this it's this mapping to always reach is king, or mapping to always high numbers are good numbers, or
Yes.
my post did good because relatively speaking or comparatively speaking I got higher numbers. If I may, and add in any extras if you feel, but if we reduce this down, are we saying then that social selling can be encapsulated in act, then nurture, and then you can convert, and within that piece is the building of trust within the nurture part. You attract is to get the right people to look in the first place, but to nurture is to keep them in orbit. And then, as you rightly said, there's an earning of the right to convert. Would you add any other steps, or would you say broadly that's about it?
No, no. I love the three steps: attract, nurture, convert. I think trust building is done on all three steps because
Mm,
you cannot attract your client if you don't have the instant trust or credibility. This
yeah.
can come from a referral or from the looks on your profile or from your content, but you attract not only by your content on your profile, you attract because you're directly seen as an authority. And
Yes.
I always love your doctor metaphor that you're probably still
Thank you.
using,
I
you
am.
know. Um, but yeah, the nurture part is probably the part where most people suck at
Yes.
because we scale too rapidly, we pitch too fast without having built trust enough. Because I think there are different levels of trust.
Mm,
So one can give you the trust to, for example, start to follow you, accept your connection request. But that's not the same trust where they say, hey, I'm going to book a meeting with that guy because we have a problem and he's the guy that's going to help us with that. That's a different trust. And
mm.
I think that's being built in the nurture process with providing ongoing insights, but also sticking to the etiquette of how fast can I convert? How fast can I build a relationship? It's not done overnight. You probably need a few messages, a few interactions.
Yeah.
And I don't think, but maybe you disagree, I see that the buyer is even more in charge of the speed of the process than the seller. That's what I think.
It's evolved for sure. I agree with that. And it's for the seller in 2026 to have awareness of what's going on in the room and where that
Exactly.
pace is. And you can get these checks of permission to move through the gates, but
Yes.
you need that response from them. I just want to loop back for about a minute back. You're talking about trust there throughout the process. To be really practical here, let's look at trust at the outset. Because I think where a lot of people, there's a miss in what they're doing, because a lot of nurture, let's call nurture the centerpiece. You've got building the trust through attraction, building the trust through nurture, and then of course the required type of trust for conversion. In that nurture piece in the center, you will have a lot of content that positions us as the authority, and that will be my thought leadership view on things. That will be my experience doing X, Y, and Z. That'll be my how-tos, perhaps. That'll be showing the way. The issue is when we're trying to do that at the start, in order to attract in the first place, we are contributing to the average because everyone's like, hey, pick me too. I also know stuff. And now you're competing with AI going, well, I'll just scrape the internet and I'll synthesize something. And by the way, write it even better. So I'd love to hear how you're attacking this. My approach is at the attraction point to earn trust at the outset. It's sure I know stuff, sure the knowledge, but I need to meet them at some level of superhero. And what that can look like essentially is asking this question of myself, where's my leverage? If I'm going to impress the ICP, not just have people see me, if I'm going to impress the right people, what would they need to see of me? So I did a post the other day to prove a point, and it converted beautifully, and it brought in these new people, but crucially in the right way. And I just started it with, here's how I closed a deal with Sony, rather than here's how you close sales. Because instantly it's like, there's a sea of people showing how to, that they're experts in selling. Hang on, this guy's done something different. I'm not the only guy who's closed the deal with Sony, but the point is, I'm looking for where the leverage is in terms of me standing out. And I'm sure you're using some principles along the same lines.
Yes, I do. For quite some years, I remember I did a carousel post specifically on this topic where I said, I see this like cooking. Like I like to cook a Thai dish, and I have all my ingredients, but there's always this secret ingredient that nobody knows that gives the additional flavor. Goes like, wow, great, Richard.
Yes.
That. And the same went for LinkedIn. I always said, like, you can have your expertise, but you always need to have something extra that sets you apart from the mass. And I was lucky enough to around about 2 years to have like the algorithm insights as my secret sauce, because in a way, not the insights itself, but how I brought them to the market, how I brought them to LinkedIn was quite unique. And ChatGPT ruined that completely, because now I see so many people sharing posts about the algorithm, and it's their complete right. But even ChatGPT is quoting from our reports now. Okay, so that secret sauce is a bit. And I think also for the people listening, the only secret sauce you have, and you gave a perfect example with the Sony, is your personal experience. Create a story that nobody else can reproduce because it's not their story. You did it with the Sony thing. I did it recently when I shared a post that I was on stage in Buenos Aires, and the feedback that I got from the audience and the direct value that they had by implementing my insights. So that story was a great conversion into 3 people actually sending me the DM and say, hey, 2 of them, they had an event and they would think about me as a speaker. Another one was like a mid-sized company saying like, hey, we need those insights into our company. I think that's what we should realize, that our personal stories combined with the success and the added value we can have for target audience, that's your leverage.
So that's the drum I've been beating the last 3 or 4 months. I know 360 views been prevalent for a little while now, but the
Yep.
algorithmic change, I mean, if I cared enough, I'd be crying because my reach a year ago was 60% higher, but who cares?
Yeah, mine too. Mine too.
What matters is making more money and the right people
Yeah.
seeing you. And what's interesting is that I truly believe, and this has been my thesis for a while, I truly believe that value 2.0, because value is easy, value is cheap because of AI, value 2.0 is that word, it's insights.
Yep.
Because you cannot compete, or like specifically AI can't compete with, I did this one thing once, here's the lesson, here's my commentary on a lived experience. And that is something AI literally can't do because it's drawing from and therefore is generic. The moment you give a lived experience, yes, there's the whole storytelling being an attractive thing to the human bias, sure, but crucially, I love the fact that the storytelling will resonate with the frustrations or symptoms that someone may be experiencing who may well want to buy from you. And I think that's where it gets really fascinating, because the more we share the specifics, the more they're like, this guy must be doing it for real.
Yeah, and the key word in this also, and I actually I'm not hating the word, not yet, but a lot of people are using it like in every post, is authenticity, okay? Because those stories need to be authentic. They need to be if somebody checks the story, somebody calls the organizer and say, "Hey, Richard," and they go like, "Nah, that guy didn't know anything.
Yeah.
I'm gone." You know what I mean? And what I really don't get is that I have seen over the past year, because a lot of people say storytelling is the new like eureka of LinkedIn content, and then they copy stories of other people, changing two or three elements because it's a templated story, because somebody said like, if you use
Yeah.
this kind of stories it will resonate with your audience. And I go, look, how can you risk your brand and your reputation by sharing personal things that are not personal, because that is counterproductive, and still people are using it. So make sure that it's a story, like you said perfectly. AI can't repeat it because it wasn't AI that did it, it was you. But also that people know this is a story from Richard. This is not a story from Juan or Jose. I don't know why I have Spanish names, by the way, but anyway.
I love
Um,
Buenos Aires though, isn't it?
yeah,
But that's crucial. If we look at mapping to outcomes, the short termists, and I really want to speak to the 130 of you in the room, and however many more of you are going to be listening to this replay. My strong belief is that the short termists are mapping to reach today with no further care for what happens later. Which is why it's like, I will borrow that person's story, because if they did this well, maybe I get a similar slice of the pie. And you're right, Richard, because what it's not doing is considering building of a personal brand. But crucially, this is an overlap where social selling really requires you to think longer term, rather than where could I snag an easy win today in terms of more views and tick the box of, hey, I did my social media right. Instead, it should be, well, if social selling is to nurture, and if value that's generic is no longer good enough, authenticity, let's call it authenticity 2.0, which is
yeah,
insights, are so important, well, then it follows that I would share specific stories. And as always, where we arrive with that is, well, the people who win are the ones who bother to do it properly. Thank goodness that's the case. Can we just quickly, before we change gears into questions, can we just quickly comment on not the algorithm, because I think I don't really want to talk about that too much. What I want to talk about is where we win with what types of content seem to be winning, not just to nurture someone, but also to get the right people seeing us. My 2 cents, if I may, first, is that I feel the more I map to this outcome of how do I stimulate dialogue, not nice post, Richard, I'm talking paragraphs. How do I stimulate dialogue with alignment to what I do and forget the rest of it? What I end up with, and I can't miss at the moment, despite like the wild drop in impressions, I will get, in the first hour, like 10% of anyone who sees my post is engaging. Yes, please. rather than 1,000 views and like very little of them. So stimulating dialogue, because it's about slowing it down. Because I know I come from selling and I'm maybe seen as old school in this way, but for me, high value deals is about interactions between the individuals. It's about human to human. And I'm not trying to be cute. It's really important. And so it's stimulated in the content, and it's moved to a call and so on. And it's incredibly low volume, unless you're a paid influencer, in which case you do you. But we're talking about high ticket things. Do you feel like LinkedIn, and that's my read on it, which is why I feel like I'm getting more out of the platform than I ever have. Do you feel like that's kind of aligned with what they're trying to do, rather than go a little bit more pure social as they could have in the past?
Yeah, you know, I can't answer your last question because in all honesty, I sometimes completely don't get what LinkedIn is about to do.
I know. I
I
know.
simply can't follow what they are trying to do or trying to sell us or call improvements. But
Yeah.
for me, posting content, and I think that's important for our listeners to know, posting content doesn't build a pipeline. Um, I heard so many things. People talk about consistency is very important, but consistency without value. I should put this on a t-shirt. Publishing consistently without value is just disciplined spam. It's
Yeah.
nothing more.
Well said.
And so posting content doesn't build pipeline. Like you said, conversations do. Content only earns your permission to start conversations. That's basically it. So I am currently also trying, and I see a bit more like you mentioned already. I see that I lost 65% of my reach compared to last year, even more compared to 2 years ago. So it's the reach wise, it's a big disaster. But I still see that post that you said where you position yourself as an authority, a proven authority with social proof in it, brings around 3 to 5 interesting conversations in the comments. And those comments, next step is obviously to connect, to start a DM. And then, like we already discussed, based on the speed, based on the urgency that the client has, will eventually evolve into meetings.
Yeah.
And that's also why, and this is again no rocket science. A lot of people are vouching for this. This is also where I spend not even enough time, but I spent substantial more time in the comment section of other people. Because I also see that, my content, for example, it gets now, I don't know, 10, 12,000 views on average. Those numbers were like 40, 50,000, like 1.5 years ago. It gets now 10 to 12,000. But I have left comments on posts from my ideal client profile, from target audience, or posts from other peers in the social selling that went up to 25,000 views. And that brought in 5-6 times more relevant new followers, relevant new invites, and even conversations than my own content.
Yeah.
So I think that's the biggest shift at the moment. Also, when we talk about social selling, it's not centered around your educational content anymore, because again, ChatGPT can repeat it and spit it out in 3 different forms.
Yeah.
It's about, I love that quote, authenticity 2.0, and showing up there where the conversations matter, whether that's on your post or on other people's posts. That's where you need to be.
Yeah, and I think there's this 1-2 approach. This is something that people need to hear. Medium to long term, we're constructing an ecosystem around our content. Essentially, we're building a party, our own playground where people will show up and engage. Brilliant. When you get that going, and Richard and I, we're not lucky, we're fortunate because of the work we've put in, that we've created something of a party or a playground each day around our own house. But for those of you listening who don't have that, the other element, which I still do today, it sounds like you do too, Richard, is simply this. If you're in the playground and no one's talking to you, so go where the other conversations are. Go to where the other parties are. Essentially, I've always said this from the start, go get your audience. And you can go to, I'm not going to name names because there's no need for this, but you go to someone who is aligned, crucially, but also has a strong active network. I did one the other day, and within an hour, 3,000 impressions on the comment I wrote. And what am I writing in the comment? I'm supporting the author by saying, agreed, and here's my evolution on it. And I'm serving the audience too. So I'm showing up as useful, and I'm conscious that in those comment threads, there'll be so many people commenting. So what I'm going to do is say, how can I, again, much like content, how can I demonstrate that I know my thing? So I remember once when this happened to me, there I am again with insights, and what I'm doing is I'm basically showing up at someone else's party, but I'm the guy who's being as much as possible life and soul. That's the short to medium term. That starts building this flywheel back home on your own content. And I think many people sit waiting, twiddling their thumbs, waiting for people to show to their content, which may well be magnificent. But if there's no momentum of people showing up, it's like you need to go get your audience somewhat, don't you, to start with?
Yeah, I myself, I have a 3x3 matrix.
Okay.
So I have 3 lists. I have a list with current clients. I have a list with prospects. So those are the people I'm already connected with, or they are in one of the Sales Navigator lists, but people I would really like to have a conversation with. And then I have a list with peers influencers, including, for example, you when it comes to social selling. And then I have 3 different type of comments I leave. So the one is a summary comment.
Mm-hmm.
So for example, if I watch a 6-minute video and I think, wow, this is really amazing. I know a lot of people will not watch 6 minutes. I leave a comment saying like, hey, thank you for sharing the video. My main takeaway is this. So that means that now LinkedIn is going to show the original video to your network, emphasizing, highlighting your comment at the bottom. So I'm actually helping my audience to consume faster, more efficiently the content. And then the second one, and that's a very good mechanism to filter bias signals, is to ask a question.
Yes.
And I do this specifically on posts from prospects. So they have a post on something, and then I dive in and say, interesting take on that from my experience, because you need to position yourself as well in your comment, because if people don't know you, who are you? From my experience of working for 15 years on social selling with corporates, I also see this trend, tuck, tuck, tuck. Do you recognize this? And those comments, a few things can happen. No response. Okay, I shot. Maybe I missed on that guy, but other people are seeing it.
Yes.
Or I get a like or a comment back from the author, which means now you can literally invite the author and say like, hey, thank you for responding to my comment. Let's connect as I want to see more of your content. But sometimes you directly get a hit back. Somebody saying like, hey, yeah, I recognize this. And then you get a DM or something saying like, hey, interesting take, we should meet. So that's the second one, ask question. And the third one, you already mentioned it, add valuable insights. Position yourself by adding something additional to the original post. If you see, and posts that work very well with this are posts where people say, I've seen 3 trends in social selling for 2026. Great. But here's my 4th trend. Based on my experience, I see this also happening.
Yes.
And those 3 lists and those 3 type of comments, if you are disciplined enough to say like, I'm going to leave 10 comments a day, do this for 3 weeks, and I'm sure you will have book meetings and you have interesting conversations with potential clients.
I cannot begin to disagree. I think so I have a thing in my group called the 20-30 challenge. If across a whole day you do 20 interactions, so existing customers, those in your network, new ones too, for 30 days, you can all but guarantee results.
Yes.
You have to really try hard to not get results. The hardest part then is, did I show up today? That's all it is. And like, as long as you do that, and I think where people struggle is they're looking around saying, where are the leads, as though there's some level of entitlement. But the reality is, you have to go to work and be on the pitch if you expect to score a goal. Sorry, you can't market your way fully to everything being done. You have to go be manual somewhat. And those that are choosing to not be present, but to feign presence through AI doing the job for them, and go, cool, I don't need to be online anymore because AI does it for me. You are losing, because we can all tell, we can all see the comments are AI, and the humans are rebelling. They are active. I don't know about you, Richard, but on my content alone, all the comments from humans, we're interacting. And I think LinkedIn, the AI comments are being pushed to the bottom Not that the authors of those comments would know because they're not there anyway, but it's almost like there's this splitting, and it's beautiful, of the humans sticking together. It's tribal, and the AI comments is like, how many times a day do I need to read that something hits different? Come on. It's obviously
Yeah.
AI. And so like you're banding together. If you just, the bottom line is this: if you want to be paid handsomely by a premium customer, you perhaps should try a little, and AI commenting and replacing the interaction of humans when in that point of the nurture cycle a human is required is just simply misguided.
I have a very honest question for people using AI commenting tool, and that is: imagine I can bring you to the table of your biggest prospect.
Yes.
Okay, so I can guarantee you, I can book your meeting with your biggest prospect. Done tomorrow, 9 o'clock. You are expected. Okay, do you want to go yourself, or do you send someone from ChatGPT to do the doc? I think nobody is going to say, no, no, I'll send a robot. I'll send, no, no, I need to do the talk. I need to build trust. So why the hell, at the foundation of building trust, just when you meet people, just when you are positioning yourself, why the hell do you give that to an AI tool or to an automated commenting tool? I don't get it. And people
Exactly.
saying, yeah, but I don't have the time. Time for me, I cannot stress this enough. Time for me equals priority. If you don't have time for it, it means it's not a priority. Because I'm lucky enough that, if I don't have clients for the next month, I can still, go to the supermarket and buy my things. But imagine that you need the money that hard, okay? I'm sure you have all the time to do this and write 20 comments a day and write 30 outbound messages a day. And you would probably do it yourself instead of
Yeah.
throwing it at a robot. So time, I don't have the time means, okay, then it's not a priority to find new clients. Because like you said, we did this with some corporate training programs where we literally gave people a KPI, X comments per week, for real, yourself,
Yeah.
on listed people. Okay, so you're working on specific accounts. And very few people were unlucky not to book any meetings or but those were the people where the type of messaging, basically their writing skills, their DM skills, needed an upgrade. Okay,
Right.
they struggled with finding the right words, adapting to the right pace of the client, so they would either go too fast or miss any buying signals. But if you do it right, and I think a lot of people can do it right, if a client is open to communicate, they know what to say.
Yeah.
It's impossible that with, for example, your 2030 program or 2030 challenge, you will not book any meetings. Impossible.
Absolutely agree. Absolutely agree. Right. So we're halfway through. I want to bring a little surprise in for everyone. 130 watching right now. Before we get into your questions, and I'm doing this as a filler in a way because I want you to put your questions in chat now, because in 41 seconds, Richard, it'll actually catch up with the lag. So I'll see what the questions are. In the meantime, let me click this, and we have a QR code here from the king of Richards, Richard van der Blom. This is a QR code to the tribe. Do you want to just share what the tribe is? Why should people right now be getting their mobiles out and looking at that QR code?
Yeah, so the tribe is my community. I started it in August 22. And I actually completely renewed it. So what a tribe is, it's a community. You get 8 mastermind sessions a year, and mastermind sessions are 2-hour sessions where we tackle one specific program. Could be, branding, could be your content, could be your DM strategy, whatever. Then we have each month we have a network meeting and a pick my brain, and people get priority access to all our new reports and all our new findings. And the renewed positioning is basically, if you want the course or if you want the system, then the tribe is nothing for you, because the tribe is for people who want to stay close to me. They want to stay up to date on LinkedIn. They want to pick my brain. They want access to my resources, to my knowledge. That's basically what the tribe is.
So we can get closer to Richard van der Blom and in fact be directly in dialogue with you then.
Yes, and yes, because what a tribe was that we had 3 masterclass a month, which is already a lot because everybody's busy. But I also would have 2 external speakers every month, and some of the feedback from current members, but also some of the members that left, said, like, we joined the tribe because we want to stay close to you, like your tactics, your strategies, your insights. So that's why we completely renewed it, and that's why we have monthly network sessions with other members, monthly pick my brain sessions. I hope it's not going to hurt. But we still have 8 mastermind sessions to tackle like all the most important topics of LinkedIn, and obviously all the research, the updates are included as well.
Oh, superb! So your algorithm report and that kind of detail there too.
Yes, and a one-on-one, a 45-minute one-on-one session with me as well. We don't do monthly memberships anymore. We only do annual memberships, and that's also a wish from the current 90 members that are there, because they say like we don't want people to join for 1 month, pick something out of the library, and then go again. It disrupts the community aspect. So now we ask a commitment for a year. It's normally €1,000 a year. It's now €800 a year via this code, and the value is over €2,000. If you look at the algorithm report, if you look at the one-on-one sessions, if you look at the mastermind sessions, which are also open to the big public, but then it's paid.
I'd argue it's worth far more than that, in fact, if you consider that you get access to Richard van der Blom himself rather than the bot version, of course. So that's fantastic.
No, not my AI twin. It's still me.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I'm going to do the same here. Why don't we have some parity? So my QR code on the left. Hey, I've got to be branded, so it's so the team made it orange. This is to the Art of Sell community. Every single week, we invite for a workshop or a masterclass an external speaker to talk about an element related to selling. Now, pitching, closing, negotiating, sure. The dark arts, the puppet mastery, all of the little bits and pieces, sure. But also the adjacent topics as well. So you can imagine linguistics, body language, grit, mindset, all that kind of thing as well. So this week, yesterday, we had Ed Essie, who is Senior Director of Innovation for Microsoft Garage. Last week, we had a National Sales Director from Coca-Cola. In a few weeks' time, we've got Head of EMEA brand for Jordan. You know, it's just this little basketball player called Michael Jordan. So Head of brand of Jordan for EMEA for e-commerce for Nike. She'll be speaking soon as well. LinkedIn's coming to talk about Sales Navigator. We're going to have LVMH, Google. Nir Ayal came and talked about being indistractable. Chris Doe talked about going big in deals. We had to talk about, what would I call it, like grit and determination and high performance. We brought in an NFL linebacker. So this isn't just Richard doing his cute speeches, because I can only know so much. I wanted to create a place where I would take notes myself, and so that is a month for free. Thereafter you join annually, and you'd also be very welcome. Richard, thank you so much for sharing that. Let's get into some questions from the audience. It is teeming with comments here. Let's get into one straight away. Let me see. I'm not going to do that one. I'm going to be picky here because I'm not going to do like anything algorithmic. Let's be careful. Although, having said that, let's do this one just because I want to. How do we say this, by the way? Is it goedemiddag? Is that correct?
Yeah, goedemiddag.
What's the approximate date of the next algo report? Why don't you answer that while I find another question?
27th of April.
So very soon.
Yeah. Don't get me started, because my team is already getting nervous because they know I'm very difficult to love when I'm in the process of writing the algorithm report. It's always stressful time.
You're not grumpy, I'm sure.
I'm worse than grumpy.
Giles Tongue, thank you for your question. When developing your themes and content focus, how many themes really are maximum? Any guidance on how to narrow them down? What do you think on this?
If Giles means by themes topics, which I think he does, then based on, and we already discussed this 360 brew, I would say not more than one topic, but you can have subtopics. Okay. So I can have LinkedIn social selling, and as a subtopic, I can still use the algorithm because it helps people to sell better if they understand how they get better performance for their DMs and their content. But having a post on Monday on marketing on Tuesday on the Australian koala bear and on Wednesday on the London stock market is not going to help, because you're all over the place. You're scattered, and 360 Brew doesn't know how to create your interest cluster. So in terms of topics, I would say one main topic, but you can have subtopics that have their fingers pointed at the main topic.
I love the idea as well of LinkedIn passing the information on your profile and seeing alignment between that and what you're writing about, and then saying, like, what does alignment look like with the right audience now? So I feel whatever measure of success I've had has always come from beating a singular drum. The same post every day, but it means I do stay in lane. Almost with no exception ever in 7 years, no matter what I write about, it will always be related to conversion, and that's my thing. So for instance, what I have is broadly 5 areas I would cover each week, but they are all like prompts to me from my marketing manager, hello Laura, who's like, talk about maybe a sales technique, talk about maybe a sales story, maybe you talk about this thing, but always then bring it back to a lesson, considering the reason why people are following you in the first place. I want to see more of that stuff from that guy, so I don't want to show up and do something completely different the next day.
To be completely honest, I think your branding on this specific thing is stronger as mine. And it's not because we're here in this room, Richard, but I often refer to you if people say like, "How do I own a topic?" And I say, "Go to Richard Moore," because
Thank you.
he's about conversion. He's about successful sales, and I can see. I mean, my background is sales, so I can see the little subtopics that you have, like a sales technique, a close. But the main theme, when I think of Richard Moore, I think about convert. I think about like literally the art of sales, and I need to step up my game there. So I'm currently planning a profile revamp, an upgrade on my content strategy, because I'm more scattered than you are. And I also want to step away from Richard knows everything about LinkedIn, because I don't know shit about LinkedIn campaigns. I don't know shit about LinkedIn recruitment. It's more about how to grow a business using LinkedIn.
Yes.
But I think it's good for our audience to understand that if they look at your branding, this is how you own a topic. Like, this is it. Art of sales, conversion.
Thank you. And so I made a very, very focused decision a few years ago to start moving in earnest away from being a LinkedIn trainer, because I didn't want to be in that box. And my space is selling, but I didn't want to. It wasn't about earning sales, because that is a very broad topic. It's about earning. The decision I made, in short, was and I love that you said what you did, because it was showing it's working. The decision I made was to own the word conversion. So and within that is a topic, and of course an adjacent topic, and that broadly targets all of selling. But I wanted to own a word, and that's why. And I think this is, for what it's worth, the advice I will give people is, if you're going to own a word, then you have to have the discipline to use that word. So you'll see, whilst I do use sales sometimes, where possible, I'm using the word conversion as opposed to closing or selling, for instance, and that's. It is something that irritatingly is brick by brick over many years, but that's just how you do it, isn't it?
Yeah, and I really think that you cannot own a word sales on LinkedIn. It's impossible.
Yes.
It's too big. It can be so many different things. So conversion is like really spot on.
Yes, thank you so much. Next question. I've got a couple that were submitted in advance as well. John Matter asks, if my prospects don't really post or share, this is one that comes up a lot, don't post or share on LinkedIn that I can engage and comment on in a meaningful way, what do you suggest? What's the alternative if they're not present with content on LinkedIn?
I think there's a few. You could look if they are active. I mean, there are tools to see if they're active on any other platforms where you can meet and where you can build trust. I personally don't do that. My main platform is LinkedIn, so I don't check Facebook or Instagram or if they're active there. But if I think that prospect is the one to speak to, and I see he has a LinkedIn account or she has a LinkedIn account, but she's not active in commenting or publishing, I just send a DM. It's basically that. I just send a DM. I don't sell. I add value. I don't ask the question the first DM, what's your biggest challenge? Sorry, I needed to make that comment because I still get those incoming from people I don't know, and they ask, "What's your biggest challenge when it comes to?" And I go like, "Why would I tell somebody I don't
Exactly.
trust what my biggest challenge is?" I mean, you didn't earn the trust to ask that question. But I do go to the DM and try to see if I can spark a conversation or reaction from John if he's open to start a conversation. I mean, you can wait until like, I don't know, 2028, but if he's not publishing, commenting, he probably belongs to the silent community, which means it doesn't mean that he doesn't see your post, but I would go for the DM.
Yeah.
Respectful. With the first DM, the only goal is to get a response. That's the only goal.
Precisely. The first, it's like you need a reaction. Now you've got something to work with. And you're right. If you lead with what your challenge is or what's your story, the answer is it's none of your business because you haven't earned that right yet. And over familiarity, when you're not in that state psychologically with them yet, is suicide. It's just not a good idea.
Yeah, it's kills.
And I would say you've got a really good point here because if they're not posting content, fine, but go look at activity, look under the comments. You'd be surprised they like and comment stuff, and that might be. But if there's literally nothing, so email, so call if you have to, or consider there's a billion others. I'm sure you'll live without this one. There is also that option if you must. But a DM, you'd be surprised. I think people need to remember that DM will often, not always, flick a notification to their email. And often people set up their accounts with their Gmail. And so it bypasses a secretary or something. And you never know. I built a business in the city by doing a lot of the DMs to people who weren't doing anything on LinkedIn. So I think there's a lot of them there. Really good answer. Thank you. I'm going to bring in one who was submitted before, a mutual friend of ours, the superstar that is Anna Jaeger from Cinch over in Sweden. She's a wonderful woman, and she said, how do you manage, or what AI tooling, all the hundreds, and in brackets thousands, of contacts on LinkedIn in a more automatic and scalable way? I'd love to hear how you do that, because you get a lot of engagement, my friend. You must get a lot of messages and a lot of contacts every day.
Yeah. I'm actually in the process to find a more efficient way, because now it's still a lot of manual work. If you speak about tools, I used Condo Inbox for a while. So Condo is a tool, I think it's $15 a month, that gives you a separate inbox so you can have multiple folders, just like your email. Basically, you can set notifications, you can set alerts. That helps. But I came across a different problem. I don't know about you, Richard, but I've reached 30,000 connections. So that means basically I cannot accept anyone anymore. It's difficult when I want to accept clients or prospects because I want to have them in my network, but it means I need to kick somebody out. So I came to the problem that within the 30,000 connections, for me, it became very difficult. Like, okay, who's priority? Who's okay to stay? And who are like, I'm sorry, literally the first ones I can kick out because they're not active. They never responded. They never communicated. Or, let's be honest, they are in markets that are never going to be my clients.
Yeah.
So I'm currently exploring a tool. It's called Lead Delta.
Okay.
It's basically a CRM. You connect your LinkedIn. It has a lot more features. Also, some features I'm not using. But it offers you, for example, you can tag all your connections, which is really good because you can tag them. And if I want to do a campaign manually, no automation, I can go to the tag and I have my 200 CEOs in the Benelux or my 200 decision makers in sales in the Benelux. So I can tag them, but I can also, and LinkedIn doesn't have that ability, I can also make a filtered search. For example, who are people outside Europe, not in a decision maker role, who I never had an interaction with via LinkedIn DM, and who haven't been active on LinkedIn in neither comments or posts in the last 6 months. I get a list. I got it this morning, 318 people. Those are the first one to kick out because they're not my target audience. We never had a discussion. They haven't been publishing or commenting on LinkedIn, so the chance that they add value at this moment, and by kicking them out and they still stay a follower, I can add new connections. So that tool helps me to really, and it also has the inbox that Condo has. So now you have everything in place, as an example.
That's really valuable. Just on this, because I know I'm speaking for a lot of people here who will be thinking to themselves, Yeah, but what happens to my profile if I'm using external or third parties tools? Can you speak to that? What level of safety is there, or do you not know for sure?
No, I know. So here we go. So they are API approved, okay,
Okay,
which doesn't it means that they are allowed to get some data from LinkedIn,
right.
but they also have, for example, automated messages, so that you can build actually like a campaign in there where you
Mm,
send out 200 messages, and then you can even like a flowchart, put your second message, and this is not in agreement with the user agreements,
right.
okay. So if you know with this more extended tools what features to avoid,
Yeah.
I mean, using the inbox, tagging your connections, and creating lists to engage with. Because one of the tools I use, I don't know if you know it, Richard, Aware. I used aware.com for
Yeah, I
my
know of it.
engagement.
Yeah. Yes. Okay.
So I created lists and I could comment really fast from the tool, and they got shut down by LinkedIn. But
Yeah.
this tool, the Delta, they implemented the infrastructure, basically the techniques that Aware had. So they were in
Mm.
contact. So they also have an engagement model. So I'm using that relatively safe. I don't use anything that could put my profile in risk.
I
But
think
you never know. You
no,
never know. You
and I
always need
think
to be very cautious.
But I think high velocity scraping is always going to cause problems, and I think people need to be wary of that for sure. My answer on this, so I am old school. I use no tools whatsoever, none for any part of it, none. My my interactions with my inbox are using the read receipt, not read receipt, read or not read thing. But what I am is incredibly disciplined. Every day I have a power hour. I've done power hours since I was 23 years old. I'm 45 now. Every day I have an hour, and I will. So my inbox is clean. I'm deleting, I'm sorting, I am working it, and that inbox, the moment there's an interaction, it then moves over to a spreadsheet I've got on G Drive, and each of the steps of my process are there. That's all I do, and each sheet on that Google Doc is per month. So I do a new sheet each month, and basically then the CRM is Stripe. So that's where I keep the data on the person, because of course you're sending a payment link. So, but I have what I have there is a G doc which is mine. So if something gets shut down, or like that software dies or whatever, or the company goes bankrupt, unless Google gets screwed and lost the data, I have that G doc, and I can go back 4 months and go, right, in October, who are the people I connected with? How far did they run campaigns with them? So I'm all about migration, but then but to be clear, I don't work in the same business that Anna does. I'm a low volume, high ticket guy. But I would venture that many of the people doing the high ticket selling in Cinch probably could use a similar approach. But I love this lead delta thing. That sounds good.
Yeah, but I'm still, or I was currently in like your system. I also have like a spreadsheet where I use it. The only problem is, Richard, I'm not as disciplined as you.
Okay.
So whenever I do the things right and I get a lot of inbound, I lose track and I
Mm,
lose out about reminders. And tools like this help me to be more disciplined because they alert me. I saw, by the way, is it for free? No, it's not for free, unfortunately. You can have a free trial. I also saw somebody mentioning in the chat, and I don't want to go too deep into tools, but someone mentioned Walaxy. LinkedIn has a blacklist. It's not open for the public. I know some tools who are blacklisted. Walaxy is hugely blacklisted on LinkedIn. So
okay.
even if somebody said it gives me good results, same from DocSoup and all those kind of, be
Yeah.
aware that this might really, if LinkedIn knows you're using those tools, you get restricted or banned.
I think this is really helpful, because I am extreme and I'm not typical, because despite brain wanting to jump around a lot, I have this thing. It's like putting on trousers or breathing in and out. I have a power hour, and that's just the end of it each day. And unless it is a very tight habit, I think, Richard, you've been really helpful there. So thank you. We're drawing this to a close here. I just wanted to say, or ask rather, what are you working on right now? Like you've mentioned the tribe, of course, and whilst you're talking, I'll flash this up again. But what are you working on right now? What's going on? Is there an event soon? Is there something cool you're doing? Anything interesting happening in your world this quarter?
Yeah, I just finished. I used November, December to like reinvent myself. So I already told the people about the tribe. I'm also organizing 8 mastermind sessions. One of them, you are going to be a guest when we talk about
I can't wait.
sales. So the mastermind says you can join for 49 euros, or you can buy a pass to all 8 of them for, I think it's 300 euros. It's low investment. It's supposed to be huge value. That's my promise. Algorithm report is coming out in April. That's a lot of work for me and our team. And then I'm starting a VIP program. It's called Authority Accelerator. I know you have something with Accelerator. I didn't do that on purpose.
It's fine.
But it's
It's a
called
good word. It's a good word, isn't it?
Well, it's basically we are going to accelerate your authority, your positioning that leads eventually to business growth, and it's a VIP program, so only 10 people. I'm going to start a first group in March, so that's very interesting because it's also reinventing myself. I'm used to work over the past 8 years with big corporates, big training clients, and now I'm moving a bit away from that and going to more into helping individuals, entrepreneurs, because I know that in general, they're more, how do you say that? Ambitious and more willing to put in some effort than, a sales director saying, hey, my 30 salespeople need training. And they'll go like, nah.
It matters their own baby they're working on, doesn't it?
Exactly. Yeah.
Absolutely brilliant. Thank you so much. And for me, I've got a bunch of talks coming up. Those of you who are receiving me, I'm looking forward to seeing you. Richard, in fact, because of you. So I'm in Slovakia in a couple of weeks' time, speaking at Festival. I'm really excited to be back in Oslo in May. More on that soon. I will be also Atomicon in June, Cannes Lions in June as well. Tube Fest in Birmingham in April. I'm looking forward to that too. So thank you, everyone. And Richard, I really enjoy hanging out with you. I think we average once a year, possibly, that we do this. But I've really enjoyed it. Thank you so much for sharing expertise and just being a great guy.
Thank you for inviting me, Richard.
You're very welcome. Right, we've both got meetings to get to. I'll see you very soon.